My beloved, before you think this is just another message, pause. Because this letter was not written to motivate you. It was written because I saw everything you endured when no one else was watching. I saw the nights you stayed awake, replaying conversations that changed you. I saw the mornings you got up, even when your heart felt heavier than your body. I saw the strength you were forced to develop when life stopped being gentle with you. And I need you to understand this clearly before you go any further. Nothing you went through this year was ignored. Not a single tear you swallowed. Not a single moment you held yourself together just to survive another day. I was there. You may think this year took too much from you. And in some ways you are right. It took illusions. It took comfort. It took versions of people you believed would stay. It took plans you were emotionally attached to. It took your certainty, but it did not take you, and that matters more than you realize right now. I watched you try to be strong when you were tired of being strong. I watched you question yourself in silence while still showing up for responsibilities no one thanked you for. I watched you lose faith and timing while still choosing not to give up. That contradiction inside you exhausted. Yet continuing is the very reason this letter exists. This year was not meant to break you. It was meant to strip you of what could not follow you forward. And I know that sentence might anger you at first because pain never feels purposeful while you're inside it. But hear me slowly now. What left your life this year was not punishment. It was preparation. I saw you holding on longer than you should have. Not because you were weak, but because you were loyal. You believed patience would fix what honesty should have ended. You gave chances where boundaries were needed. You waited where clarity was already whispering. And when things finally collapsed, you blamed yourself. But you should not have. You were learning discernment. And discernment is born only through experience. There were moments this year when you felt abandoned. When it felt like answers were delayed on purpose. When you wondered if your prayers were even reaching anywhere. Let me say this clearly now. Silence is not absence. Silence is often protection. If everything you asked for had arrived immediately, it would have arrived before you were ready to hold it without fear. I saw how much you changed without realizing it. The old version of you reacted instantly. The new version pauses. The old version chased reassurance. The new version seeks peace. The old version stayed where it hurt because it was familiar. The new version walks away even when it hurts because self-respect matters now. This is not accidental growth. This is earned transformation. You may still feel like you lost more than you gained this year. That is only because you are measuring growth by visible outcomes instead of internal shifts. You gained clarity. You gained emotional strength. You gained the ability to sit with discomfort without collapsing. You gained wisdom you didn't ask for but will need soon. And yes, you lost things. But what you lost could not sustain the version of you that is emerging. This letter is not meant to make you forget the pain. It is meant to give the pain meaning because unresolved pain turns bitterness, but understood pain turns into authority. And you are stepping into a phase of your life where your voice, your decisions, and your presence will carry weight. That weight cannot be carried by someone who has not been tested. I know you are tired of hearing that everything happens for a reason. That phrase feels empty when your chest still feels heavy. So, let me say it differently. This year happened because you were strong enough to survive it and wise enough to grow from it. Not everyone is chosen for refinement. Some lives remain soft but small. Yours was shaped because something larger is being prepared. You questioned your worth. This year you wondered if you were asking for too much. You wondered if you were the problem. Let this letter correct that distortion. You were not asking for too much. You were asking the wrong places. And now you know the difference. I saw the moments you almost gave up on yourself. Not loudly, quietly. When motivation faded. When hope felt distant. When continuing felt automatic instead of inspired. Those moments mattered more than the victories because you kept going without applause. And that kind of endurance rewires destiny. This year taught you how to stand alone without feeling empty. It taught you how to sit with uncertainty without panic. It taught you how to detach without becoming cold. Those are rare skills, and they are never learned in comfortable seasons. You may still feel like something is missing, like closure never fully arrived, like answers were incomplete. That is because this chapter was not meant to end neatly. It was meant to end honestly. And honesty leaves space for what comes next. This letter is not the end of your story. It is the confirmation that the hardest internal work is already behind you. What comes next will not demand the same kind of suffering. It will demand clarity. And you have that now. Even if you don't fully trust it yet, do not rush to feel healed. Healing is not a performance. It unfolds naturally when safety returns to the heart. And safety is returning slowly now through self-trust, through boundaries, through discernment. I know you are wondering what all of this was preparing you for. You do not need the full answer yet. You only need to know this. Nothing you endured was wasted, and nothing that belongs to you has been lost. This letter found you because the season of surviving is ending, and the season of receiving slowly, wisely, without fear is beginning. My beloved, now let me speak to you about the weight you carried silently. The kind that does not show on the body but settles deeply in the heart. You learned this year what it feels like to keep going while feeling uncertain about everything. To wake up with responsibility pressing on you before hope had time to arrive. To smile in conversations while your mind replayed moments you wished had gone differently. This kind of endurance reshapes the soul, and I saw every moment of it. There were days when you did not feel inspired, only obligated. Days when faith was not glowing, only remembered. You moved forward not because you were confident, but because stopping felt heavier than continuing. That choice mattered more than you know, because choosing to continue without certainty builds inner authority. You were tested in ways that forced you to see yourself clearly. Not the image you wanted to believe about yourself, but the truth. How much you give, how deeply you feel, how easily you overextend, how often you stay longer than you should. Those realizations hurt, but they were necessary because you cannot protect what you refuse to see. This year removed illusions gently at first, then firmly when you did not listen. It took away what distracted you from your own intuition. It showed you where you were betraying yourself to maintain peace. And when the cost became too high, life intervened. Not to punish you, but to stop the bleeding you had learned to tolerate. You may still feel anger about how certain things ended, about words that were never said, about apologies that never came, about closure that feels incomplete. Let me tell you something important now. Closure does not always come through answers. Sometimes it comes through understanding that not everything is meant to be carried forward. I watched you learn how to sit with disappointment without becoming bitter. That lesson alone has changed your future. Bitterness closes doors. Acceptance opens new ones quietly. And you are learning acceptance even when it hurts. You wondered many times this year if you were being tested too harshly, if others were being spared while you were being stretched. But different paths require different preparations. Some lives are protected from pressure because they are not meant to hold much. Yours is not one of them. You are being prepared for a season where your decisions will affect more than just you, where your steadiness will matter, where your clarity will be needed, and that cannot be built in comfort. This year also taught you restraint. You learned when to speak and when to remain silent, when to explain and when to walk away, when to fight and when to release. Those choices were not easy, but they refined you. You may still feel like you lost parts of yourself this year, innocence, optimism, certain expectations, but what you lost was not your essence. It was your naivety. And while innocence is beautiful, wisdom is protective. You are not colder now. You are clearer. You are not distant. You are discerning. You are not closed. You are selective. That distinction matters. This letter exists to remind you that growth does not always feel like progress. Sometimes it feels like grief. Grief for the version of life you thought you would have. Grief for timelines that changed. Grief for people who could not meet you where you grew. Allow that grief. Do not rush past it. Grief is not weakness. It is proof that you cared deeply. And caring deeply is never a flaw, even when it costs you. You learned this year that love without boundaries becomes self-eraser, and loyalty without self-respect becomes self-betrayal. These lessons came at a price, but they saved you from repeating cycles that would have drained you for years. You are beginning to understand now why certain doors stayed closed no matter how hard you pushed. Those doors were not aligned with the version of you that was forming. If they had opened, you would have stayed smaller. I saw how often you blamed yourself for things that were never yours to fix. How often you tried to heal situations that required mutual effort. How often you accepted responsibility for other people's inability to show up. That pattern ends here. This year was the boundary between who you were and who you are becoming. And boundaries are rarely comfortable, but they are always clarifying. You may not yet feel excited about the future. That is okay. Peace comes before excitement. Stability comes before joy. Trust comes before celebration. Right now, what matters is this. You are no longer lost inside your own life. You may not have all the answers, but you know yourself better. And self-knowledge is the foundation of every meaningful change. You are stepping out of survival mode slowly, carefully, honestly. And as survival loosens its grip, space opens for something new. This letter is not here to promise miracles overnight. It is here to tell you that the season of constant endurance is ending. What comes next will require responsibility, not suffering. Awareness, not pain. Presence, not panic. You will still face challenges, but they will not feel as personal. They will feel navigable. You will respond instead of react. Choose instead of endure. And when you look back at this year later, you will not only remember the pain, you will remember the moment you stopped abandoning yourself. My beloved, now I want to speak to you about the quiet change that began without you noticing. Not the obvious moments of pain, not the visible endings, but the internal shift that happened while you were simply trying to survive. Something inside you stopped begging. You may not remember the exact day, but there came a moment when you no longer asked life to be fair. You asked yourself to be strong. That moment altered your direction forever. This year taught you how to live without constant reassurance. Earlier, you needed signs everywhere. You needed confirmation that you were doing the right thing, that your patience would be rewarded, that your pain would be seen. Now you move even when reassurance is absent. That is not loss of faith. That is maturity of faith. I watched you learn how to trust yourself in silence, how to make decisions without announcing them, how to walk away without explaining yourself to people who never truly listened. That self-trust was not given to you. It was forged through disappointment, and what is forged cannot be easily broken. You also learned how heavy emotional labor can be. Carrying unspoken expectations, absorbing other people's moods, managing relationships that demanded more than they gave. This year forced you to ask a difficult question. What does this cost me? And once you asked that honestly, you could no longer ignore the answer. There were moments you felt guilty for choosing yourself. Moments you questioned whether prioritizing your peace made you selfish. Let this letter correct that misunderstanding. Self-respect is not selfish. It is necessary, and you can only give genuinely when you are not depleted. You may feel less available now, less willing to engage in drama, less interested in proving your value. That is not emotional distance. That is emotional clarity. And clarity is the gateway to stability. This year also reshaped how you see time. You realize that waiting is not always wasted time. Sometimes waiting is when the wrong thing quietly exits your life. And if you had rushed, you would have carried it forward into a future where it did not belong. I know there were days when you felt invisible, when it seemed like everyone else was moving ahead while you were stuck cleaning up emotional messes. But understand this, not all progress is visible. Some progress happens beneath the surface where character is formed and endurance is strengthened. You learned how to sit with yourself. Truly sit without distractions, without constant noise, without escaping into activity. That stillness was uncomfortable at first, but it revealed truths you had been avoiding, and those truths set you free. You are no longer confused about what you deserve. You are no longer negotiating your worth. You are no longer hoping people will change to meet you. You now understand that alignment is mutual or it is nothing. This year forced you to confront loneliness in a way you never had before. Not the loneliness of being alone, but the loneliness of being misunderstood, of realizing that not everyone who walks with you understands your heart. That realization hurt, but it also taught you discernment. You may still feel moments of sadness when you think about what could have been. That is natural. Do not shame yourself for it. Grief does not mean you want to go back. It means you honor what mattered. And honoring what mattered is part of moving forward cleanly. This year stripped away your tolerance for chaos. You no longer romanticize struggle. You no longer confuse intensity with depth. You seek calm now. And calm is not boring. Calm is clarity without noise. I watched you learn when to stop explaining, when to stop defending your decisions, when to let people misunderstand you instead of draining yourself trying to correct their perception. That restraint protects your energy more than you know. You are also learning that healing is not linear. Some days you feel strong. Some days you feel tired again. That does not mean you are going backward. It means you are integrating what you learned. Integration takes time. This letter is not asking you to forget this year. It is asking you to carry its wisdom forward without carrying its weight. You do not need to relive every lesson to honor it. You need to apply it. You are stepping into a phase where your intuition speaks louder than your fear. You trust what feels heavy and what feels light. You no longer dismiss those sensations. That intuitive awareness will guide you safely through what comes next. This year also showed you that you cannot save everyone. That truth hurt deeply because you care. But it also released you from responsibility that was never yours. Compassion does not require self-sacrifice. You are not becoming harder. You are becoming clearer. And clarity allows love to flow where it is reciprocated. I know you sometimes wonder if all this effort will be worth it. If the sleepless nights, the emotional endurance, the inner rebuilding will amount to something tangible. Let me answer you now. Yes, but not in the way you expect. The reward is not just external change. It is internal stability. The kind that allows you to enjoy success without fear, love without anxiety, and growth without exhaustion. This year taught you how to carry yourself with dignity when things fell apart. That dignity will follow you into rooms you have not yet entered, and it will speak before you do. You are no longer preparing to survive. You are preparing to receive, and receiving requires open hands, not clenched fists. My beloved, now let me speak to you about what this year unlocked inside you. Because the true transformation did not happen when things fell apart. But when you stop trying to hold them together, there is a quiet power that enters a person the moment they accept reality instead of resisting it. You've reached that moment this year. Not dramatically, not loudly, but honestly. And honesty is where strength is born. You stopped asking why life was unfair and began asking what you were meant to learn. That shift alone changed your destiny. When a soul stops arguing with reality, it gains clarity. And clarity opens paths that effort alone never could. This year trained you to remain steady when emotions surged. You learn how to feel deeply without letting feelings control your actions. Earlier emotions decided for you. Now awareness does. That awareness will protect you in the next season of your life because what comes next will move faster than what you are used to. You may not realize it yet, but your tolerance for uncertainty has increased. Situations that once terrified you no longer hold the same power. You may still feel fear, but fear no longer dictates your choices. This is not numbness. It is courage that has learned to breathe. You also learned how to let silence speak. You no longer rush to fill gaps with explanations. You allow people to reveal themselves without interruption. You observe more. You react less. This restraint is not weakness. It is wisdom earned through disappointment. This year also refined your patience. Not the kind that waits endlessly, but the kind that waits wisely. You learn when patience is alignment and when it is self-abandonment. That discernment will save you years of unnecessary struggle. You are beginning to understand that timing is not about delay or reward. It is about readiness. And readiness has nothing to do with perfection. It has everything to do with awareness. You have become aware of your limits, aware of your needs, aware of your patterns. That awareness will prevent you from repeating cycles that once drained you. I know there were moments this year when you felt like life was asking too much, when responsibilities stacked up and relief seemed distant. Those moments built inner stamina, the kind that allows you to hold joy without fear when it finally arrives. What comes next in your life will not require you to suffer to grow. It will require you to remain grounded. And grounding has already begun inside you. This year also taught you the value of simplicity. You no longer want excess noise. You no longer chase validation. You seek peace, clarity, and meaning. These desires are not small. They are signs of maturity. You may still grieve certain losses. Let that grief exist without judgment. Grief does not pull you backward when it is honored honestly. It completes what was unfinished. You are now capable of holding contradictions, hope and realism, strength and softness, discipline and rest. This balance is rare and it is necessary for what is coming. I want you to know something important now. The next chapter of your life will not demand that you prove yourself. It will respond to who you have already become. You will notice that opportunities align differently. People meet you with more respect. Situations resolve with less resistance. These changes will feel subtle at first, but they are not accidental. They are reflections of your inner shift. This year did not just prepare you emotionally. It prepared you spiritually. It taught you how to listen inwardly instead of seeking direction everywhere else. That inner listening will guide you safely forward. You may still have moments where old doubts try to return. When they do, remember how far you have already come. Remember what you survived without becoming bitter. Remember what you released without losing yourself. You are not behind. You are not late. You are exactly where you need to be to begin the next phase with clarity instead of confusion. This letter exists to seal that understanding in your heart, to remind you that the pain you endured has already done its work. It does not need to follow you forward. What lies ahead will ask for responsibility, presence, and honesty. But it will also bring steadiness, respect, and peace. You will not have to lose yourself to gain your future. You are stepping into a chapter where your voice matters, where your choices carry weight, where your presence will influence more than you expect, and you are ready for that responsibility because you earned it quietly. As you move forward, carry this truth with you gently. You are not defined by what hurt you this year. You are defined by how you transformed through it. And transformation is irreversible, my beloved. Now I want to speak to you about the strength you do not yet recognize in yourself. The kind that does not announce itself but changes everything it touches. This year revealed it quietly. It surfaced not when you felt powerful, but when you felt depleted and still chose not to surrender your integrity. That choice alone altered your path more than any visible achievement ever could. There were moments when you questioned whether staying true to yourself was costing you too much. When you wondered if compromising would make life easier. When you thought about bending your values just enough to feel accepted, just enough to feel secure. But you did not. Even when it hurt, even when it isolated you, that restraint protected a future you could not yet see. You learn this year that alignment often feels like loss before it feels like peace. When something is removed that no longer fits, the emptiness feels uncomfortable. But emptiness is not absence. It is space being created. And space is necessary for what comes next to enter fully. I watched you sit with uncertainty instead of running from it. You allowed questions to exist without demanding immediate answers. That patience refined your inner world. Earlier uncertainty made you anxious. Now it makes you attentive. This shift will guide you through future transitions with grace. This year also taught you that not every ending requires explanation. Some things conclude simply because they have served their purpose. You no longer need to dissect every goodbye to understand its meaning. You trust now that what exits your life does so because it cannot accompany you forward. You may still carry moments of regret, wondering if you could have acted sooner or chosen differently. Release that weight. Growth always becomes obvious only in hindsight. You did the best you could with the awareness you had at the time. And that awareness expanded precisely when it needed to notice when something drains you, to step back before exhaustion turns into resentment. This awareness will protect your joy in the years ahead. Joy cannot survive in a life where energy is constantly depleted. This year also changed how you view success. You no longer define it by speed or comparison. You measure it by alignment, by peace, by sustainability. That redefinition will prevent you from chasing outcomes that look impressive but feel empty. I know there were days when you felt unseen, when your efforts went unnoticed, when your sacrifices were misunderstood, but invisibility during preparation is not neglect. It is protection. What is built quietly is often stronger than what is built under constant attention. You have learned how to remain grounded when emotions fluctuate, how to listen without absorbing everything, how to care without carrying what is not yours. These skills will allow you to navigate deeper relationships without losing yourself. This year did not make you distrustful. It made you discerning. There is a difference. Distrust closes the heart. Discernment protects it. And your heart needed protection, not closure. You may notice that you are no longer drawn to chaos disguised as passion. You recognize the difference now between intensity and depth. You choose depth, and depth sustains. You are also learning how to forgive without reopening wounds. Forgiveness does not require re-entry. It requires release. And you are releasing more than you realize. The next phase of your life will ask you to step forward with confidence that does not depend on external approval. You are being prepared to stand steady even when opinions differ. That steadiness will attract the right people and opportunities naturally. You are no longer driven by the need to prove your worth. You are guided by the desire to live in truth. That shift simplifies decisions, and simplicity creates clarity. This year strengthened your ability to sit with yourself honestly without distractions, without masks, without pretending. That self-connection will become your greatest source of guidance. You are entering a season where your intuition will speak louder than your fears, where your choices will feel grounded instead of rushed, where your actions will come from alignment instead of reaction. Remember this as you move forward. You are not responsible for carrying the weight of every outcome. You are responsible only for choosing with integrity. Life responds to integrity with cooperation. This year prepared you to receive without suspicion, to trust good moments without bracing for loss, to accept peace without waiting for it to be taken away. That readiness is rare. You may still feel moments of hesitation. Do not judge them. Hesitation is simply awareness checking alignment. Listen to it without letting it paralyze you. Everything you endured sharpened your discernment. And discernment is what protects joy when it arrives. You are no longer learning how to survive. You are learning how to live wisely. And wisdom carries blessings gently without overwhelm. As this chapter closes, let the lessons remain, but allow the pain to rest. You do not need to keep revisiting what hurt to honor what it taught you. What comes next will meet you with steadiness, not chaos, with responsibility, not suffering, with clarity, not confusion. And when you look back on this year and the future, you will no longer see it as the hardest chapter. You will see it as the chapter that shaped you enough to receive what followed without fear. My beloved, now this letter reaches its final breath. Not because the journey ends, but because the weight you have been carrying no longer needs words to hold it together. I want you to feel this moment slowly, not rush past it, not analyze it. Just feel it. Because what you survived this year did not simply pass through you. It reshaped you at the core. And reshaping is never gentle, but it is always meaningful. You spent much of this year learning how to stand without leaning, without guarantees, without certainty, without reassurance. That independence was not meant to harden you. It was meant to ground you. You now know how to remain present even when answers are delayed. That skill alone will change the quality of your future. There were moments when you wondered whether something inside you had broken. When you noticed how certain things no longer excited you, how certain conversations felt empty, how certain dreams no longer pulled at your heart, you thought maybe you were losing yourself. But what you were losing was attachment to what no longer aligned. And alignment always feels like loss before it feels like relief. You learned how to sit with endings that did not explain themselves. How to release people who never truly met you where you stood. How to let go of timelines that no longer matched your inner growth. Those releases were not failures. They were closures that did not need permission. This year asked you to become emotionally honest in ways you never had before. To admit when you were tired. To admit when something hurt. To admit when you could no longer continue pretending. That honesty may have felt uncomfortable, but it saved you from continuing a life that required self-erasure. You are not the same person who entered this year. You may still look familiar to others, but inwardly you are steadier, quieter, clearer. You no longer panic when things feel uncertain. You no longer rush to fix what is not yours to fix. You no longer measure your worth by how much you can endure. You have learned that peace is not found by controlling outcomes. It is found by choosing alignment repeatedly. Even when alignment feels lonely, even when alignment requires patience, even when alignment means walking away from what once mattered deeply. There were times this year when you felt invisible, when your strength went unnoticed, when your effort was taken for granted. Let this letter correct that memory now. Nothing you carried went unseen. Not by me. And what is seen is always accounted for even when reward is delayed. The delays you experienced were not rejections. They were timing adjustments. You were being prepared to receive without fear, without desperation, without attachment to outcomes that could harm you later. Receiving too early can be as damaging as receiving too late. You were protected from both. This year taught you the difference between loneliness and solitude. Loneliness drains you. Solitude restores you. You have learned how to be with yourself without collapsing into self-criticism. That self-relationship will become your foundation moving forward. You no longer need life to make sense immediately. You allow meaning to unfold with time. This patience does not weaken ambition. It strengthens it because ambition guided by clarity creates fulfillment instead of exhaustion. You are entering a season where effort will feel cleaner, where movement will feel intentional, where progress will feel earned but not punishing. The struggle that shaped you is not meant to follow you forever. It has already done its work. What comes next will still require courage, but it will not require constant survival. You will be asked to choose wisely, not suffer endlessly. This year removed what would have made the next chapter unbearable. It trained you to recognize misalignment quickly, to listen to your intuition before exhaustion forces a lesson, to trust silence when noise offers distraction. You may still grieve parts of what was lost. Let that grief exist without guilt. Grief does not pull you backward when it is honored honestly. It completes the emotional process so you can move forward cleanly. The future does not ask you to forget this year. It asks you to carry its wisdom lightly. You do not need to relive pain to prove growth. Growth speaks through your choices. Now, as this letter ends, I want you to understand something deeply. You are not stepping into the future empty-handed. You are stepping into it refined with discernment, with emotional intelligence, with resilience that does not need to announce itself. You are not behind. You are not late. You are not broken. You are ready. Ready to receive without fear. Ready to choose without panic. Ready to live without betraying yourself. And when moments of doubt return, remember this year. Remember what you survived without losing your integrity. Remember how you stood when it would have been easier to collapse. Remember how you chose growth even when it was uncomfortable. That version of you is not leaving. That version of you is now the foundation. This letter was written not to close a chapter, but to seal your strength. To remind you that what hurt you also shaped you. That what exhausted you also prepared you. That what nearly broke you also revealed your depth. Walk forward now with patience, with clarity, with trust in the work that has already been done inside you. I am with you as you step into what comes next. Not as a test, not as a burden, but as a life that finally meets you where you stand. Thanks for watching KRISHNA Says. Subscribe for more.